Moin! This is a film about 15,000 people. This is a film about the German minority in Denmark. This is a film about us. Why should this interest you? Well, we'll just assume that you're an interested person. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. You've come to the right place. Here, you'll find out who we are and why we exist. We live in the south of Denmark, in the region of North Schleswig. At first glance, we do not differ from the Danish majority. You can recognize us by the fact that we speak German. In the family, at school, in clubs, at parties and events. Of course, the Danish language rubs off on the minority language. And in some situations, people also speak a wild mishmash of both languages. We use German words and phrases that sound quite different in North Schleswig than in Germany. For example, we call a pedestrian zone Gehstraße, and taking the dog for a walk Hund lüften. And when we pet a friendly cat and it purrs, we say Die Katze spinnt. These are literal translations from Danish that sound quite funny to Germans. We are German and Danish at the same time. We are a tight-knit community and at the same time modern and open-minded. We have German Schultüten and Danish graduation caps, Studenterhue. Why are we here? Well, we've always been here. To understand how we became the German minority in Denmark, we have to travel back in time. In the Middle Ages, the south of Denmark and the north of Germany belonged to the Duchy of Schleswig. The people who lived here spoke German, Danish, Frisian, and also local dialects, but at the same time did not define themselves as Germans or Danes. When the people began to identify as Germans or Danes at the beginning of the 19th century, this triggered a long conflict. In 1864, there was a war between the German states of Prussia and Austria on the one side and Denmark on the other. Denmark lost the war and the entire Schleswig region became German. The German-Danish border now ran up here at Kolding, at the river Königsau or Kongeåen in Danish. The official language in this region became German. But people continued to speak Danish in local dialects such as Sønderjysk and Low German, and they privately maintained German and Danish traditions in families and clubs. The Germans were in charge during this time, but after the First World War, 1914 to 1918, the world looked very different. Germany had lost the war and signed the Treaty of Versailles. This stipulated that there should be a referendum in the border region. So, in 1920, the people of Schleswig were allowed to vote on whether their homeland should belong to Germany or Denmark. Only a quarter of the population in North Schleswig voted German. The majority voted for the region to belong to Denmark. And so, it was decided. The German-Danish border was moved 75 kilometers to the south. It still is there today. The people who felt German and had voted for Germany now lived in Denmark. Imagine going to bed in Germany and waking up in Denmark. And so the border shift in 1920 led to the existence of a German minority in Denmark, and also to a Danish minority in Germany. The minority came into being because the national border shifted, not because the people moved. Why didn't they move to Germany if they felt German, you might ask? Some did, but most stayed where they had always lived, where their family and friends lived. Here they had their workplace and their home. In the following years, the German minority worked politically to shift the border again and become part of Germany once more. That's also why the first decades after 1920 were unfortunately not always harmonious between the minority and the majority. And now to the darkest chapter. Almost everyone in the German minority sympathized with the Nazis before and during World War II. After the war, schools and meeting places of the minority were closed, organizations were dissolved, and many members of the minority were punished for collaborating with the German occupiers. For a few years, most members of the minority preferred to hide that they belonged to the German minority. Celebrating German traditions or speaking German in public was not so easy. When German and Danish schoolchildren met in the past, they exchanged insults and there were also fights. But as time passed, the relationship between the German minority and the Danish majority population got better. Over time, the German minority was granted more and more rights. Particularly important were the Bund Copenhagen Declarations of 1955, in which both Germany and Denmark declared that the minorities on both sides of the border are full citizens and are free to profess their respective affiliations. Members of the German minority could now freely speak their language and live their culture. Still, many members of the minority found it difficult as children and teenagers to stand by their German identity. It was difficult to be proud of their German roots. Only as adults did many realize the value of growing up with two languages. Today, the German minority positions itself very clearly as democratic. We deal honestly and actively with the Nazi era and admit that our ancestors did not act correctly at the time. Did you know, by the way, that 1 in 7 people in Europe belongs to a national minority and speaks a regional or minority language? That's about 4 students in a normal classroom. Therefore, the coexistence between minority and majority is an issue that concerns not only the North Schleswig region, it concerns us all. We are 15,000 people out of a total population in North Schleswig of about 250,000. Today, the German-Danish borderland is recognized throughout Europe as a prime example of the peaceful coexistence of minority and majority. Because we respect each other, engage in cross-border cooperation, and build bridges between people and countries. The German minority is a special feature of the border region and a natural part of Danish society. One can wonderfully play football in a Danish club and sing in a German choir. Many read both the German news and the Danish news with their morning coffee. For Christmas, it's no problem to eat traditional Danish Christmas food and attend the German church service in the afternoon. And we have both Danish and German friends. We switch quite naturally between German and Danish, often within the same sentence. The young people of the minority can, after their school graduation, study in either Germany or Denmark. And due to their bilingualism, they are popular in the job market, as Germany is an important trading partner for Denmark. But most importantly, the minority and the majority live together peacefully today. And it should never be any different again.